So what can you say about Kelly that came into the business with, let's say, Mariah Carey and George Michael and the earlier Kelly to the Kelly that's now? What's the difference between those two Kellys?
Educated. This Kelly is very, very educated. I've always been somebody I'm a researcher, and anything that I'm interested in, I'm going to learn about it. And so it was very early in my career that I was already looking into what the unions were, what they were for, how to fill out union forms. Because I've been writing my whole life and I knew that it was something that I wanted to do, I started looking into that, finding out what publishing was about and that whole everything, and really just kind of taking myself through the steps and preparing myself to get where I wanted to go. And the truth of the matter is that Kelly then wasn't interested in being an artist. I wanted to write. I wanted to hear my songs on the radio. I wanted to hear other people singing them. And so I'm educated. That's probably the most powerful thing that could have ever happened for me in this business. And, sometimes when I have younger musicians or kids or they don't even have to be younger, just somebody who has not had an opportunity to learn as much about the business, but they just have a talent or a gift and a desire to be in the business. They want me to give them some magical answer about what it is that they need to do to get put on. And I tell everybody the same thing: learn the business. Because you can be the most talented person in the world. If you don't know the business, you are going to get stumped. Even if you find a lucky break and somebody puts you on somewhere along the line, if you don't know your business, you are going to get stumped, and we see it all the time. So I encourage people, if this is what you say you love it enough to learn it. And I am educated in this business. I've done almost every job that can be done in this business, whether it was for somebody else or if I had to do it for myself. I've done everything from be the producer to the songwriter. I'm the background singer. I'm the lead vocalist. I'm the arranger. I am the marketing person. I've been the PR person. Anything that could possibly happen from behind the scenes all the way to making my way to the stage and standing with a spotlight on me, I've done every job in between. Probably short. I can't even. I can't even say. I may not have been the roadie, but I know what it is to help carry something inside the venue because I come up from. I'm not above that. I'm not above that because I came up in a family where when something needed to be done, everybody pitched in. Nobody was a prima donna. You're not getting ready to stand there and watch me do it. You got two hands. They're not broke. You see that it needs to get picked up, pick it up and carry it inside. So literally, I've done every job from the inception of the music to the finished product on the stage. And I'm glad that I have. I wouldn't change that for anything because it's been my lifeline and it's been my ability to live well and to sustain even when there was a change and a shift in the music industry. Sometimes people will say, well, Kelly, where you been? I'm all right. Just because you don't see me on a stage doesn't mean I'm not working because as long as I can get a pen in my hand or sing a note or get it out or whatever, I don't have to be the recording artist. I'll write the song. I'll produce the song. I'll put a whole concept for somebody else's album together and do that. But because I have done it and I know how to do it, it leaves me with options. So, again, the Kelly from then to the Kelly now is very well educated in this business.
One thing I could say about the Kelly in general is that you are the hardest person to research. You are so private when people are trying to look up your information. And so one thing I want to know is, are you in tune with all the social media networks of today, like the Twitters and the Facebook?
I'm on all of it. We're working on getting me verified. I had verification on the social media networks earlier this year, and I had a problem with my page, and we had to shut it down and start a new one. And so we're going back through it's the weirdest thing, going back through the verification process, particularly with Twitter, has been a little mind-boggling that I have to wait now. But I think that'll rectify itself pretty soon.
Yeah.
I am a private person. In terms of, but I'm on all the social, and I run all my own pages. So, I'm literally talking. When the fans send a message to Twitter and they get a response, that's me talking. When they send a message to my Facebook page and they get a response, that's me talking. Because I feel like I've always given people me. I've always been willing to give people me, and that hasn't changed. The private part of me is that I am somebody that comes home. I am literally the girl that that you could have gone to church with, or that you could have went to school with, or could have lived next door to you, or whatever. That's literally who I am day in and day out. I don't have people driving me around. There's nobody driving my kids around. When I'm not on the road and I'm at home, I'm cooking my own meals, I'm hanging out with my family. That's who I am, and I enjoy that. I've always wanted to have a normal life at home, and to me, that was the epitome of success. Because even, I had the whole church thing growing up as a kid, but then I ended up being in, my parents split up, and then my dad died when I was 9, so I grew up in a single-parent home. 3 girls, my mom struggling. We were homeless twice before I was 18. So there's a lot of things that have happened throughout my life that, whereas some people consider one thing success, for me, success is something else. And success for me is to be able to come home and have my family, hang out with my kids, know everything is going to be okay. They have a roof over their head. There's food there's food in the refrigerator, because I lived through times where that wasn't always the case. So, when it comes to that, I am private. I chose this as a career, or it chose me, but then I made the decision to walk it out. And so I feel like, as far as my children are concerned and their lives are concerned, they deserve to have as normal a life as possible, and I've done everything in my power to give them that. They both have decided that they want to be involved in the business at this point in some way or another, so I support it because they're extremely gifted. But until such a time that they're ready to give up, their anonymity and their ability to walk through life almost kind of, without the headache of being that visible, I'm going to help them protect that. And the best way for me to do that is to, when it's time to go to work, be at work, and when it's time to go home, go home. There's no need for me to walk around and parade around and try to draw attention to myself if it's not work-related, or if it's not related to something that I'm doing because I'm passionate about it and trying to help something or someone else out. That's just going to always be me. I am a very normal person, and for me, if antics work for other people, God bless them, but I don't need them.
What's the deal with Queen Project?
The Queen Project is an incredible, incredible concept that Anthony Shep Crawford, producer extraordinaire, came up with many, many years ago. He'd been talking about it for several years. He asked me about it several years ago. He asked Deborah about it several years ago. To me, actually, there were a few ladies that he'd worked with. Let me not say a few. There were 4. He talked to years ago to Coco from SWV, because he'd done some work with her. He talked to me about it. He talked to Deborah about it. He talked to me about it. And there never was a time where it was good for any of us to all come together and do it. And so a couple of years ago, right after I moved to L.A., Shep called me and he's like, listen, I mentioned to you a few years back, and I kind of have this idea, and, I want to bring it back up again and see what you think about it. And I'd been working on my project, and I'd actually just called him and told him I want you to do some things on it. But he said to me, I really want to do this thing where, at first it was just supposed to be a song. Then he was like, well, let's see about an EP. He was like, it would really be dope if we could do a whole album. So I said yes. Tamia said yes. Deborah said yes. But with that, I was already working on my project. And at the time that we all said yes, Deborah had already signed a contract to star on Broadway as Josephine Baker. And so she had a very hard window locked in with the contract that she signed with Broadway for the Josephine Baker story. I had a little more flexibility in my partnership with Warren Campbell. And he was very gracious when I went back to him and told him that, Shep had come to me with this idea. And I asked him if he would be willing to put the album off for about a year for me to do this project, and he agreed. So it actually ended up being closer to a year and a half. We got the music done very, very quickly, but it was the other logistics that kind of pushed the project off. We had 3 separate lives, 3 separate managers, 3 separate business managers. Just everything was 3 separate this, 3 separate that, 3 separate the other. And we came together in the studio and made incredible music, and that was a no-brainer. But it was a little bit harder trying to get everything else to come together. When you're talking about you got to have 3 managers who now have to move like one. Yeah. And you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that became really difficult, and the merging of our enterprises consumed so much time that by the time we looked up, our window was gone. There was actually enough time to put the record out, but we would have not been able to tour the record and to promote it properly because at that point, even though I'm very sure I could have gone back and said, listen, this is a big deal and this is going to be a great project, give me a little more time to hold off on my project, I'm sure I could have done that. Deborah really didn't have that option with Broadway. You know what I mean? Like, her contract was already signed. So it's the music is in my computer. It's in their computers. It's in Shep's computer. And
will it ever be released?
So we all listen to it. And Deborah's got a year and a half on Broadway out the gate. And if she does what we all believe she's going to do, it will probably run longer than that. So the Queen Project, to me, is an incredible idea that can happen at any time, but I just don't necessarily know that it will happen with the three of us, because with us missing our window of time and being obligated to do other things, it's very unlikely that even if the music is released, that we would be able to actually go out and perform it together.
You guys really could have been like the female version.
We're actually going to have to get ready to wrap, so
right.
This be the last question.
No, that was the last question right there anyway.
Okay.
I was going to say that you guys could have probably been like the female version of LSG, which would have been like a real dope situation for a lot of women also, because you guys are all powerful women in your own right.
Yeah. I'm really, I hate that the project didn't get an opportunity to come out. But again, it's a great idea. It's Shep Crawford's idea, and literally, he still speaks to all of us. So at the end of the day, if the time should ever come, or even, if it was to be with me and one of the other ladies and the other one couldn't do it, or if it was one of the other ladies and I couldn't do it because of the time, I actually think it's such an ingenious idea that it should not be one that doesn't see a manifestation at some point in time. So, but Shep knows, listen, if you want to make this thing happen, I'll try my best to shift my life so that I can be a part of it, because I think whenever it's done, it's going to be massive.
Well, we'd like to thank you on the behalf of thisisrnb.com for allowing us to interview you, and not only that, but good luck at these Grammys. You're going to win, though. I have a funny
thought. Come on, pray with me. I'm telling everybody, y'all pray hard. We talking to God about it. We crossing our fingers, our toes, our weaves, everything.
All right. That's how it is. You have a great day, okay?
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, bye.